Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This is the talk show and podcast where we have digital discussions, worlds of TV, film, news, music, lifestyle, sports, everything really dependent. We guys talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, your name is PD Beats. You'll soon recognize my guest from a show that's going to be dropping on Amazon Prime Video April 9th called Them. It is going to be very, very scary. Sophie Guest is with us. Sophie, welcome to Popternative.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much. It's calm before the storm a little bit. The show's about to drop. What's that been like for you this last couple of weeks?
Very exciting and a little hectic, if I may say.
Oh, absolutely. Now, it's interesting because, people have read about this, sprinkles over the internet about this show and everything, and then the trailers came out, and the big horror fans, the horror fanatics, they're excited for this. I mean, what was the reaction from your family and friends when the trailer dropped? Was everyone kind of like, man, this is like really scary?
Yeah, a lot of my friends, whenever they watched the trailer, they texted me. They're like, I love you, but it's a little too scary for me. They're like, I might just watch your scene if that's okay. And it was a little bit of a shock to me too, because it was my first time seeing the trailer as well whenever everyone else saw it. So I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it was a really cool experience to have, honestly.
It's interesting because I'm a big fan of like horror movies, and when I talk to other guests on my show, we kind of dive into it, right? And it's one of those things too where this show, based on the trailer, is what I love about how like the horror genre has kind of evolved, because like you don't just need like the jump scares and the bloody gore scenes to scare people. Like, people are scary.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like just the things people say like scare you, like the tone they say it.
Absolutely. Now, your character is going to be Doris.
Mm-hmm.
Without going into spoilers or anything, Sophie, like what can you tell us about what we can expect with your character in Them?
Yeah, so like you said, I can't spoil anything, but I will say Doris is the quintessential California girl, and she befriends Ruby Lee whenever she first comes to high school.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because, this is it just looks amazing, the trailer of it. Not even the horror, the scary aspect of it, how it looks. Did it blow your mind a little bit when the trailer came out? Because like the playback of the trailer, like the cinematography aspect of it, did it blow your mind a little bit?
For sure, and especially whenever I first saw like a few of the episodes, because I've already seen a few of the episodes. So when I first saw that, I was like, wow, this is like legit. This is actually happening.
Absolutely. For you, for like the storytelling acting, when did that kind of hit you in terms of you wanting to do that? Was it at like a very young age for you?
Yeah, so I started when I was like 6 or 7. My oldest sister, who's 25 now, but when she was around like my age, like 15, 16, she used to be a model, and her agent here in Pittsburgh knew she had a younger sister, and they had me audition for a movie, and I ended up getting the role as little girl in Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise. And at 6 years old, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of just like, okay, this is fun, I guess, but it hit me, I think, when I was doing a film here in Pittsburgh called The Great One. It's not released yet. They're in post-production. But whenever I was doing scenes there with kids like my age, it really hit me whenever I had to like get into the character and become this person.
Absolutely. And it's funny when you say that, like becoming that person, because that's what you do that's what you do, right? Like if people ask you what acting is, you're like, I play pretend. That's literally what it is. That's interesting to think about, right? Playing pretend for a living.
It's so fun too. It's like you're playing dress up or something, or like you're playing house like you would whenever you're like little,
Absolutely.
It's such a cool thing to do.
No, for sure. So for Them, I'm really interested because obviously, the audition process, you get the role and everything. Okay, you're going to be Doris, you're going to be in the show, right? What's the mindset going in? What's the preparation aspect of it? Like, what's that like for you, Sophie, when you get the role?
So I hadn't gotten the script before, whenever I was auditioning. So whenever I got the role, I was a little taken aback because I didn't know what the besides like a brief description, I didn't know to what extent the show is going to get into, like with all the topics it deals with. So whenever I got the script, I was just super excited to like tackle this role, and become her, like we were just saying. Preparation wise, since I didn't get the script beforehand, I kind of just prepared like I would any other role. I just tried to create a backstory of Doris. And whenever I was in the audition room, I was thrown like a bit of a curveball. So I had to completely change how I played her. And something went right. So, because here we are,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's great. It's interesting because, like you said, when we first started this interview about your friends like that are not into like horror movies and everything and the scary stuff. I mean, there's a difference between Sophie Guest watching and enjoying horror movies. There's a different and shows, and there's a difference between Sophie Guest like working in the horror genre, right? They're two different things, right?
Yeah.
After doing this project, do you want to work in that genre more? Like, does that come to mind at all?
It definitely intrigues me. I think it'd be really cool. I would love to, after like this show, especially since it's so intense, I might want to take a break from horror for a second and maybe just chill out, maybe do like a coming of age film. I think that'd be really cool, but I mean, it still does intrigue me. So.
A different pace, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
When people watch the show, you're hoping they enjoy it, you're hoping they get scared, right? But like, what are you hoping they get out of watching them? Diving deeper into it.
That's a good question. I really hoped that, whenever I got the script, whenever I was like just acting in the show, I learned so much from it because, first of all, going into the show, of course I knew like segregation in the 50s and all the racial inequality, but I didn't know to what extent.
Yep.
So whenever I got this role, I learned so much. It was like a history lesson in itself. So I really hope that people, if they want to, they can make it a little bit of a history lesson. They can learn so much about how those terrors in the 50s, like housing inequality and racial covenants and redlining, still affects people today.
And the show is not out yet, but they saw the trailer, and I think the trailer does a good job of basically saying what you just said, right? Like, you see it in the trailer. Like, they do a really good job. It's hard to cut a trailer if you think of it. We have to give props to the trailer team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because they only have like 2 minutes. They don't want to put too much in. Yeah, there is that. It's funny because as soon as I saw the trailer for that, I was like hooked. Like 30 seconds in, I'm like, I'm watching the show, right?
Yeah, I've already seen the show, and I was hooked too. I was like, what's going to happen next? I already know, but I was still intrigued.
Absolutely. So it's funny. You mentioned like the coming of age stuff. I mean, there's going to be a lot of projects out there, a lot of auditions and everything. Are you hoping that you're going to be able to be a storyteller and an actor that's able to, be diverse in terms of the amount of kind of stuff you're into that you're going to be working in? Like, for example, doing comedy, doing coming of age. Because a lot of people that have their niche, right? They do only drama, do the comedy. Do you want to do a bunch of different things? Is that something that you've thought of?
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that'd be amazing to do. I don't want to just get stuck in one thing, like the girl next door or like the manipulative girl or the dumb blonde, that can happen to a lot of people, and it has happened to a lot of amazing actors and actresses. And I really hope that my career does stay diverse and that I am able to do a lot of different things, because that makes it more fun for me to do. Mm-hmm. And it's just like makes everything, like I was saying, it makes it more fun to do. It makes it more fun to be in. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now we're talking about the acting because, you're in them, you're acting in this show as Doris. But a lot of people in the entertainment industry tend to, wear many hats. They experiment. They work behind the camera as well. They write, they direct, they produce. Have you thought about that at all? Obviously acting is something you're focusing on, but have you thought about, maybe experimenting and writing and directing down the road as well, Sophie?
For sure. That would be something I would love to do. I've been really thinking about, I'm a sophomore in high school, and I've been thinking about a lot of looking at different colleges recently, not like, just like online, Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be really cool to go somewhere like UCLA and go to their film school or something like that, because I'd love to be a screenwriter. I love writing. That's a really great way of expressing myself. I want to go into all types of places there is to go in the industry.
It's interesting. So you say you're still in high school. So that's interesting. How are you able to kind of, and obviously with the pandemic, the going to school and everything, a lot of online classes and everything. So that's a whole different answer to the question. But how is it to like the school life and everything? How is that balancing with like the work life? Because that's an interesting situation for your age.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. It can definitely be really hard, and it definitely gets hard at certain times. But it's just finding those like pockets of space that I have during my day, during my week, whenever, where I'm not doing anything, and I fill that with school, or I fill that with other things to get my mind off of those things that are like, that are constantly there.
Yep.
I'll do sports. I'll go running, I'll play guitar, just finding other creative outlets that I can do to kind of rid myself of that stress.
Absolutely. In terms of the craft of acting, what were some learning experiences for you on them?
Let's see, there were so many. Like I was saying, all those, in terms of acting, right? There are so many, but I think one that was really, really cool was definitely being able to do like special effects type things.
Yeah.
Because I had never done anything like that before. So I was able to go to this really cool factory where they made all the like props and like cool like bloody arms and stuff for The Walking Dead. So I got to go where they did all that stuff, and that was super cool. And I got to get a head cast done. So they put like plaster on my face, and they had like straws sticking up in my nose so I could breathe. And like 4 people were putting plaster all over me to get this head cast done. My mom was standing next to me. I was like, I'm very claustrophobic right now, but it took a long time. But the plaster only lasted a few seconds, so it was all good. But that was probably the best thing ever. And of course, our head makeup guy on them, Howard Berger, he's like a master of his craft. So it was also so cool learning what kind of makeup tools he was applying to my face and doing the special effects. Like I would ask him questions like, why are you using that color? Or does that blend easier? It was such a cool thing to learn about. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Sophie, thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat about them. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely speaking to you.
Absolutely. So April 9th, it's right around the corner, Friday. It's dropping on Amazon Prime Video.
Yep.
Which is
right up.
It's it's right there.
Yep. Super excited.
Absolutely. Is there where can people follow? Is there social media people can follow you at to keep up to date with everything, or?
Yes, you can follow me at Sophie Guest Official on Instagram. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You'll be able to catch Sophie Guest as Doris in Them on Amazon Prime Video this Friday. Until next time, this is Sophie Guest and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.